Okay, I'm going to get a Boston butt roast prepared tonight, and then tomorrow we're going to put it out on the smoker and let it smoke for about 10 hours, and then we're going to pull it apart and turn it into pulled pork. So I got here, this is the 9-pound Boston butt roast, bone still in it. I've already injected it with apple cider vinegar, and what that does is the acid in the vinegar helps break down the muscle tissue and the fat and everything. It just helps it get more tender as it sits overnight. So I've already done that. Now I'm going to cover it in mustard, and all the mustard does, it doesn't really add any flavoring to it. It just helps the dry rub stick to the meat and helps it soak in. So I'm going to coat it with mustard, dry rub it, and then I'm going to sprinkle kosher salt on top of the rub, and then brown sugar on top of everything. Then I'm going to let it sit in the refrigerator, wrapped in saran wrap overnight, and then tomorrow we'll get it on the smoker at about smoke it at about 225 degrees an hour a pound. So we're looking at between 9 and 10 hours on the smoker tomorrow. So we'll get this mustard on here. I'm going to try something a little bit different this time. I'm going to try just leaving the fat cap on the bottom. A lot of people smoke it with the fat cap on top. But when I get done, I'm just going to end up cutting that fat cap off anyhow and throwing it away. I'm not going to keep it. So I'm just going to try smoking it with the fat on the bottom and using that fat as a cushion to protect the meat from the heat a little bit. We'll see how that works out. Since I'm doing that, I'm just going to keep everything sitting flat just like this and not flip it over, because there's no sense of seasoning the fat because it's not going to absorb through it anyhow. Okay, that's coated real good now. Now we're going to dry rub it. This is a really good rub that I like. It's called Sweet Rub of Mine. It's a really strong tasting barbecue, but it's sweet. And I picked this up at Lowe's. That's the best. They got the best price on it. It's $5 for a container. So you sprinkle that on there. This is a thick piece of meat. You really cannot put too much of this on here. And like I said, we're going to put it in the fridge overnight. It's going to absorb. It's going to turn the meat a nice color before we even start. This works out really good in the smoker. You know, don't be afraid to push it into the meat a little bit as you go. And probably tomorrow when it comes time to put it on the smoker, we'll put another light coat of this right before it goes in the smoker. And I think I'm going to smoke this with cherry chips. Maybe mix a little bit of apple in there also. So we're going to go for more of a sweet flavor this time instead of a strong hickory. Now that I got that rub on there, now I'm going to sprinkle a little kosher salt on top of everything. This salt helps tenderize the meat also. this coarse grain salt. Okay, now that that's on there, now I'm just going to top it off with brown sugar. Not only does this really sweeten it up, but it's going to help you get a nice bark on it once you get it in the smoker. Okay, I've got the smoker coming up to temp, got it set at 225, and I rubbed this last night, let this sit in the refrigerator overnight, and now I'm going to put another coating of rub on there and get it out on the smoker. I need to make these videos early in the morning because my wife is still asleep, because she gets jealous if I talk about rubbing any other butt but hers. So she's sleeping, so that's why we're doing this right now. It's like 7:30 in the morning on a Saturday. Okay, so we're just gonna put another coat on there. Go pretty heavy. Like I said earlier, this is going to be about a 9-10 hour smoke. This is a 9-pound Boston butt. What we're going to do, we're going to put it on a smoker and let it sit in there for probably about 4 hours till we get an internal temperature of 160. And then we're going to pull it off, we're going to wrap it in foil and put it back in the smoker till we get a temperature of at least 195. Then we'll pull it back off and let it rest for probably an hour, then it'll be ready to eat. Okay, I just pulled this off the smoker. It's been on there for 6 hours now. The internal temperature is at 160. So what we're going to do is wrap it up to keep it from drying out. Then we're going to put it back on the smoker and let it get up to 195, and that's when it'll be done. I'm smoking it with cherry chips to give it a cherry flavor. And I'm going to, before I wrap it, I'm going to spread some cherry jelly on there. Let that soak in, flavor it up some more. Now once we get it back out on the smoker, we won't add any more wood because it won't make any difference since it's going to be wrapped in foil. You can do whatever you want at this phase. Some people spray it with apple juice or apple cider vinegar, or just add a little bit of water. But I think this is going to heat up and this jelly is going to give it a nice glaze to it. This is my first time using this, so I guess we'll find out together. You want to keep this wrapped up nice and tight so the juices all stay in there. Okay, I got this off the smoker. It turned into about a 12-hour smoke. Took a little bit longer than what I thought it was going to take to get up to 195. I've had it resting now for about an hour, so we're going to open it up, take a look at it. Okay, you can see that it's nice and tender, just totally falling apart all by itself here. Good color to it. That's after I put that cherry jelly over the top of it. Okay, this center bone here is just totally falling out by itself. Look at that, that's the falling right off there. Okay, so I'm just gonna start pulling it apart and putting it in my container here. Once again, I kept the fat cap on the bottom this time, so now I don't have to worry about getting that fat tangled up in the meat, and that worked out really well actually. I finished pulling the pork and put it in the crock pot and mixed it up with some barbecue sauce. This is the final product here. It looks pretty good. We'll let it sit for a little bit and then we'll make up some sandwiches. They have pulled pork sandwiches.